Welcome back to our latest Swampcast. It's a bye week for the Gators, but not for us. We're hard at work here. As you can see, Robbie's ready to go, right?
Working on it.
Robbie, Andreu, and Pat Dooley, the Gainesville Sun. And at this point, halfway through the season, it's a good time to kind of look at the Gators and where they are. Obviously, you know where they are in the standings, 4-2 in the overall and 2-2 in the SEC. As Urban Meyer said, I was at a speech that he was at Monday, Robbie. He said the East is still wide open to him.
Yeah, it is. I mean, if there really been any big surprise for you with Florida, Pat, I mean, they started the season with inexperience on defense. We've seen it all kind of transpire. I think the Tennessee thing threw things out of whack a little bit, expectations. But, you know, Florida's still in it. I mean, a lot can happen between now and then. And like I did a blog the other day saying people need to get off the wins and losses right now and kind of just enjoy watching this team mature and grow up a little bit and take the pressure off of having to win and being in the race, even though they are in the race.
Right, and, you know, the thing is people are always disappointed with losses, and I understand that, and they're going to second-guess the coaches. What amazes me, though, is people are asking, wow, do you think Tennessee will lose again? They've played 2 SEC games, and they lost one of them by 39 points. Yeah. I think they're going to lose a game. In fact, I'll guarantee they lose another game down the stretch. If Florida wins out, they'll be in Atlanta.
That's kind of my feeling too, Pat. And I think the old ball coach, well, not the old ball coach.
No, don't call him the old ball coach.
The former ball coach will have something for Tennessee.
Yeah.
Of course, he's going to have something for North Carolina first.
Oh, wow. You know, they're still mad at him for the Duke game in '89. That's amazing.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're just going to kind of look at the Gators. Robbie, I grade them every week. I want you to give your grades halfway through the season. Let's start with the offense. What kind of grade would you give them?
I would give it about a B plus, somewhere in there. You know, they haven't been great at times. But they've lacked consistency. But, boy, when they're on and Tebow's on, it's a fun offense to watch. And the Tebow, man, he just produces touchdowns. What else can you say about him?
Yeah, I'd say A-, B+, somewhere in there offensively. I think the offensive coordinator has had some bad moments and has had some moments where you wonder what was going on.
Including an appendectomy.
Yes, he has. That was not one of his better moments. But I think overall he's done a pretty good job of utilizing their weapons. They just, you know, that Auburn game is going to kind of stick out.
They got into that 2-game rut, Pat, where they went away from all the playmakers. I know Bubba was out, Caldwell was out, but they went to this rut where it just became Tebow and Percy Harvin, and that was it. Everybody knew it was coming. It was getting like they were afraid to step out, like you said, and trust their other players.
Yeah. And I think that's part of the problem. That's part of the reason why they've lost a couple of games. But again, you know, just to go back on that point about wins and losses, Robbie, this team is not that much different from last year's team.
No.
And they were playing close games every week. And this year, a couple plays here. If Jermaine Cunningham doesn't take the inside rush on Matt Flynn, if they don't give him a good Jacob Hester a good spot, you know, people are sitting here talking about Florida being a national championship contender. It's just there's not that big a difference between last year and this year.
Senior teams have a way of winning those close games.
Exactly.
Last year, all those games, they never looked that great during the season. But they won, and then in the biggest game of the year, they did look great. So I think that, you know, they're not far from being really good.
What about defensively? What kind of grade would you give them so far?
I'd give them a C, maybe. I mean, there's just not a whole lot going on there in terms of plays and guys making plays. And, you know, I guess we were spoiled from last year. That defensive line was so dominant, and it set up everybody else to make plays, and it's not happening right now.
Yeah, you know, the thing is, we knew going into the season it was going to be questionable on defense because you lose 9 starters.
Yeah.
I mean, and it wasn't like you had experienced backups coming in. They're a little better than I thought they would be. I mean, Joe Hayden is becoming a good player. Major Wright's becoming a good free safety.
Cunningham, who you mentioned, is becoming a player.
Has 17 tackles again. Brandon Spikes has delivered. I think a guy like Dustin Doe needs to elevate his game.
Yeah.
He's not playing real well. There certainly are some guys. You know, they're limited on the defensive line, but they're a little better than I thought they would be. I'd probably give them a high C right now. But they're, you know, if they're really good, Florida would be undefeated.
But the encouraging thing is, Pat, they are getting better.
Yeah.
The young guys are getting better. You're seeing that every week, and that's why Meyer's pretty confident about that group. By the end of the year, I think he thinks they're going to be pretty good on defense.
What about special teams? Just give them a grade.
A B, I would say. You know, last week they didn't do anything. They gave up the fake field goal. They didn't make anything happen in the return game. Brandon James stepped out of bounds when he shouldn't even fielded the kick. So they didn't do a whole lot, and I thought that was one area where they were going to make a play that would help them win that game, and it didn't happen.
Yeah, I think that against the better teams, they're having a hard time maybe shaking Brandon James loose. The one weird thing about this season is Chaz Henry they have not given up a punt return yard, but the one difference between him and last year was, you know, Eric Wilbur was one of those guys, if you needed to flip the field every once in a while. I mean, he wasn't as consistent as Henry's been, but he could do that.
He could jack one down there.
Henry,
right.
though, his kicks are high. There's no question about it. And Florida still, I think, is fourth right now in the SEC in net punting, which isn't bad. So it hasn't been a liability, hasn't been as big a weapon as it sometimes was last year. Joey Ehas has been pretty solid, I would say. But special teams, I agree with you. The special teams, and Brandon James has got to, I know they want him to be aggressive, but you cannot be fielding a ball 1 inch from the sideline.
No, whether he was in or not on that one, which it looked like he was in to me, but whether you're in or not, you shouldn't be grabbing that ball there. I know he's supposed to be aggressive and get kicks, but not in that situation there.
You're telling me an SEC official might have made a mistake?
Yeah.
No. No.
But on the replay, it looked like you could see a little green grass between his foot and the sideline. But
of course, I saw 95 holding penalties they could have called either, but Steve Shaw's crew refuses. Watch if you get Steve Shaw this weekend for a game. Watch and see if they call any holding penalties. They refuse to call them. If it's a big game, he says let them play. Well, which you have to understand, but there are times when it's pretty blatant. So overall, I think we're looking at a grade of about a B for Florida right now. They're a little ahead of where I thought they'd be, but they've got 2 losses, and that's somebody was upset with me because I gave them a C overall for their grade at LSU. A couple of people actually were, and I said, look, it's Florida, it's a loss. C's the best you're going to get out of me in a loss.
And like we had talked about just a little while ago, there are no moral victories at a place like Florida. I'm sorry, whether you're young or not, you don't say we played well, everything's great, but
So a grade B performance right now for Florida, which isn't bad, but it's not as good as they'd like it to be. If they have a grade A in the second half of the season, Florida will be in Atlanta. Like I said, Tennessee's going to lose a game. I promise you that. And if Florida beats South Carolina and wins out, they will be in Atlanta, and then I get to take Kelsey to the Christmas parade.
And they're on this path right now, Pat, where they are getting better. They've made a lot of mistakes. They've corrected things from game to game, and I think they're on a good path right now. And I think Meyer's happy about that, and we'll see what happens. But I would be shocked if they don't get a lot better and make a strong run at this title.
Yep, and talking to Urban on Monday, it's pretty clear. He knows that he's got something special down the road. It may be later this year, it may be next year, it may be 2 years from now, but down the road this is going to be a national championship contender again. There's no doubt about that. As he said to the crowd I was with, if you're going to get us now, and it may be that now is slowly eroding for the rest of the SEC.
Yeah, he said, after the Auburn game, he said, it's a process and everybody wants it to go fast.
Yeah.
But I think it has gotten faster now,
it's
based on what they did the other night.
Yeah. I think they're a very good football team right now and have a chance to be great. Again, whether it's later this year or not, we'll see. But it could be. They went out, go to Atlanta, get a rematch with LSU, knock them off. Guess what? Everybody's excited talking about what a great coaching. Maybe he could be coach of the year.
Could be.
Is that possible?
It'll be fun to watch, though, I think. That's why people need to sit back, relax, enjoy it.
It will be. That'll do it for this week's Swampcast. We'll be back with you, of course, next week to preview the Florida game against Kentucky. Until then, this is Pat Dooley, Robbie Andreu from the Gainesville Sun saying so long from the Sunshine State.